So let's get to current, present day right now. Present day. Because we wanted to give people some context before we actually get into the meat of it all.
Right. So in particularly, we have Gage complaining about the old artists not helping out the new artists. We heard this in a recent interview on Nightly Fix, where Gage was saying that, you know, the old artists not showing love. They're actually trying to fight the new artists. And, you know, him particularly, because remember, you know, Gage is the one that came up with the Dung in a Trut particular song. But now goes back to what I was saying earlier. Dancehall reggae music sings about what's going on in your current community, your current state of living. Now, back in the days when Bob Marley sing, I mean, we didn't have television pushing sex at a high pace as it was. And remember, you know, media is influential to the community. So now in these age, you have Gage, who's in a society where sex sells. Sex is the only thing pushing. You have hip hop. What was the thing was spiced up on, you know?
Oh, Love and Hip Hop.
Love and Hip Hop. Empire. All these shows, the sex is like the number one topic. And so you can see that our society is filled with sex and different. So
you're saying that
if he makes a song, Dung in a Trut, it's because he's singing of what reflection of what he sees in the society. As far as, remember, Sakata done higher the standard when them come on and say, freaky girl, them girl, them. So at that point, you open the floodgates.
Yeah, man. Because many years ago, certain things that were tabooed are not tabooed today. But that especially the way how you present it, the way how you deliver it.
Right.
You know.
True. But then that's goes back to exactly what I'm saying. At the time, even the media, the TV, they weren't showing the sexual, explicitness of what they are showing now to the fullness. You know, so it kind of influenced the artists, the society to kind of taper it down in a sense. But now it's open, so it's like, all right, so the floodgates open, so can I sing it?
All right.
But he got a backlash from artists who was still into that old way of thinking and saying, all right, nah, you can't sit down in a chut.
Yeah.
And we all, but even Gage had to come out now and say, yo, honestly, yeah, that was a wrong move of me, and now he's singing more conscious songs.
He's definitely making a concerted effort to reinvent himself, and you got to give it to Gage.
Right.
But here I go on now. I'm gonna read because I checked out the interview.
Right.
I'm gonna read a quote from Gage because he made some great points, you know, in his defense. So I'm gonna read. Gage says, we weren't here to tell the elders that their music is trash. We were younger. So he was definitely making reference to the generation gap.
Right.
Because in every generation, there's always people from the previous generation who didn't approve of what they're doing at the moment.
True.
You get what I'm saying? So basically what Gage is saying is that, yo, who knows what you were doing back in 1995?
True.
You sang stuff that were tabooed, and you delivered it that differently from what was the norm.
And I think he was directly speaking to Sizzler in particular because Sizzler was the most. Remember, Sizzler had his own fire that people were fighting him.
Fire.
He
Hot
was
fire.
Burn no fire, but then he also was contradicting because at the same time, I burn fire, my pum pum too. So
yeah.
So and a lot of even reggae purists were coming at Sizzler for pumping up too much pum pum.
Them that bonfire upon Sizzler one time.
I real top. But you know the culture work.
So I think he was pretty much saying, but man must have back in a year there, you do certain things with people that are bonfire upon you. So why would you do in return do that to me as an artist?
Yeah.
Who I do with me and then you are bonfire upon me.
Yeah.
Generation gap.
Generation gap
but
again.
You should know. He pretty much Gage is saying you should know better because you've been through this.
Yeah.
Give me a chance. And you're not. Gage is not the only one. You have Conscience complaining about old artists not helping out young artists.
All right. Conscience, yeah, man. Conscience definitely went on Instagram. He, Conscience doing thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a vibes. He go on a little
man,
little rant and thing on him.
Talk in mind.
Talk in mind and bag of something.
And I appreciate it for that.
Yeah, man, him talk in mind and thing. Anyway, but yo, Gage made a point. He went further to say that he says the older artists,
right,
they are not elevating themselves, and they're also not elevating the younger artists. Because he says, yo, these artists, and then he compares the older artists. He didn't really want to call any names. He compared them to like big hip hop dudes like Jay-Z or Rick Ross.
Right.
He's like, yo, there's no one in dancehall who have no major labels or reggae music,
right,
where they're elevating people. So they didn't really set a foundation.
Yes, we speak about that all the time.
They did somewhat pave the way, but what foundations did you really set for us?
And we all know that as far as when it comes to business, Jamaican artists maybe are not the best at the business part of the industry of music. Yeah. And that shows it right there, because honestly, Bounty Killer came the closest. Bounty Killer would be the Puff Daddy of Jamaica. Cause remember say him come with Alliance. Remember say Imbus Cartel, Imbus Movada, Imbus Busy Signal, which entail Bus Donia, Black Rhino, Popcorn. Honestly, Bounty Killer is supposed to be gaining some kind of monetary gains from these artists.
I wish Bounty Killer did have a record label.
I wish he signed them. Like, even if back then he didn't know what to do, but him just have a contract and say sign ya, so then later on he could have just go into the right, loopholes and get some kind of something work out where him can eat the food off it. But that's a different podcast. We're gonna talk about that. But let's get back into
speaking of Bounty Killer.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bounty Killer, the other day I saw something on Instagram. I think Vibes Cartel have a new song right now called Underwater. Underwater.
Yeah, tune up
bad tune. TJ Records. Big up TJ Records, by the way.
I've been seeing you giving them high endorsements on the gram.
But Bounty Killer said something, and it definitely reeked generation gap. He said something, and it definitely reeked generation gap. He says he was pretty much blasting the new generation producers. He says Looney Tune generic watering down dancehall producers only listen to real dancehall sounds. No, that's something else, because if you've been following me on social media, you know my stance when it comes to these producers watering down the sound, basically stripping down the rhythm to a skeleton.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these rhythms, if you take the vocals off of it, it has no identity. You wouldn't even be able to tell that this is a dancehall rhythm.
That's true, because honestly, you listen to like Punana rhythm, you listen to like Showtime rhythm,
drum and bass.
You know that's the rhythm. You know the name of the rhythm. If you was to take off, maybe let's use Popcorn, for instance, take the lyrics off of
Big song.
Family.
Family is one of the biggest songs in the dancehall right now.
I would literally not be able to tell you that's Family rhythm.
It's a Jamaican. No, you wouldn't even.
Oh well,
that is it's a Jamaican.
I wouldn't even be able to tell you it's a dancehall rhythm. Right. Period. So
you wouldn't.
So definitely, I agree with you there that the drum and bass pattern that they're stripping away from the elements of dancehall rhythms is definitely watering down and stripping away from the identity of dancehall.
Absolutely, but you want to know, from a fan perspective, from a new generation fan perspective, you can't tell them that. You can't tell them nothing.
Of course not. I mean, now
because their version of dancehall is different from our version of dancehall.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's where the generation gap. Because these new fans, they just start listening to, let's say, for instance,
Steven the Genius.
You're just born. You start listening to Steven the Genius. To you, that's dancehall. Now, to us, we know that snare, that pattern is hip hop.
Yeah.
So you are gonna think say that's your norm. So your norm now becomes
great point
of a new identity that we don't identify as dancehall. So now that's what's happening with these producers.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is why they're not stopping.
I'm for real. I don't mean to cut you. Yeah. And that's something that someone like me, who was born in the early 80s, came up in the 90s.
Right.
That's something that's really my generation gap. That's what I'm struggling. I'm struggling to come to grips with.
Yeah. So remember with that of a reason though.
Man.
We was talking about how we were saying pretty much how there's there's certain elements that should be left like that and consistent. And I was
my
saying
rhetoric.
and I was saying to you that there's been changes from the emergence of reggae to this point. And I was saying that these new artists who are rising and paving this new way for this new dancehall,
this new sound, this new little, you know, hip hop R&B sound.
I was saying it's possible that they create their own wave, they create their own movement, and it becomes. Who knows? Alkaline could have been a new Bob Marley. The one thing it could be a new sound that all the new youngsters jump onto, and it become the new dancehall.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Wait, what is that?
Where's the colada?
So the question is reggae evolving in a different direction that the people who are familiar with it back in the 80s and 90s are not too comfortable with? So people are not always so welcoming to change, and change is scary.
Yeah,
you know, those people are used to the Berries, the Bob Marley, the drums, snares, you know, the more
drum and bass,
traditional reggae, and now they're hearing these new artists coming in with a different sound, and they're saying this is not reggae.
Right.
They don't recognize it,
and that's the conflict.
Scary. Yes.
Great point.
So we become parents in a sense.
Yeah, yo, right now at this point,
Pretty much.
at this point right
Give
now,
them ideas.
well, the music change, boy. Music change. I reggae this.
I know music. I
dance all this.
I know music. This.
What is that? Yeah, man. But all right. Our next thing for real.
Yeah.
Remember, there's something called Brand Jamaica.
Right.
Specifically as it relates to dancehall music.
Right. True.
And when I say brand, that's the work that has been put in. That's the foundation that has been laid since the inception of our music. So when outsiders, people who really don't subscribe to our culture too much,
right,
when outsiders think of Jamaican dancehall music, they already have a sound in their mind.
True. Because
it takes years and years and years to work on that sound.
Right.
So if I'm a program director at 99.9 FM,
let's say Z100.
Z100, perfect one.
Yeah.
Z100 alternative pop radio station in New York City. For those of you guys who are not familiar.
Yeah.
If I'm a program director, a radio program director at Z100, and
I get a
okay, give me a dancehall artist. Give me
exclusive. Big song, anywhere we go.
Yeah. Big money. That was a big song in dancehall.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And somehow I come across that song in my email. I know somebody who knows exclusive, and the person said, "Yo, this is the biggest song right now in Jamaica, man. It's burning up the airways." And I look on exclusive page, and it's just crazy. And I look at the views on YouTube, it's just crazy. I look on everything. I look at all the metrics, and I'm like, man, let me check out this artist. And when I listen to the music, and I'm listening to it, I'm saying to myself, yo, what is this? This is dancehall?
This sounds nothing like dancehall.
This
is how they're going to talk and think.
Yeah.
Because these people are used to Sean Paul. They used to Elephant Man. They used to Beanie Man.
Or even before that.
Beanie Man. They used
Shabba-ranks.
The big Buju Banton.
Yeah.
They used to, these people, remember, said them artists we just named paved the way for dancehall.
Yeah.
So these people who never heard dancehall before, they hear these sounds. They're used to nothing but this sound. This is what they fell in love with. They didn't fall in love with this new exclusive sound that we
hip hop sound.
This hip hop sound where we in a Jamaica a dead offer. They only know the Sean Paul, the Buju Banton, the Beanie Man, the Bounty Killer with the Fugees.
Yeah, man.
That's what they know.
Cause you know, dancehall music is a vibe. It's really a vibe for you to feel. It's not really about understanding the lyrics per se. You might hear a little bit in the hook, but you might not hear the chorus. But guess what? You could rock to that beat. You know, you got drum and bass, you feel it. But when you take the drum and bass away and you start giving them hip hop, you go to a hip hop radio station and you start giving them Jamaican music that sounds like hip hop. They don't want to hear it.
True. And I mean,
they don't want to hear it.
I see the direction that the music is going. People are mostly focusing on the lyrics these days. They're not really much the rhythm or the vibe of the rhythm.
Dancehall music is not nowadays.
It's like hip hop.
Nowadays, it's not really about the rhythm nowadays in new, like present day dancehall. It's more about It's more about what the artist is saying.
right.
You're saying something catchy,
Something like
or you're saying something relevant.
Right.
You make mention of social media trends and all kind of things. It's not really about the rhythm.
right.
And the rhythm is what made dancehall music a global phenomenon back in the 90s.
True.
That's what people could not get enough of the drum and bass.
I want you guys to just listen to that part that Budan just said. It's all about the identity of dancehall. We need to bring that back. I mean,
and that's where the gap is.
And we know that dancehall and everything is on a constant change, but the identity should always remain the same.
Yeah, man. The identity, and that's the thing. It must reek.
Right.
It must speak brand Jamaica. People got to feel it. Yeah, that's the thing and that's where we are right now. It's like a struggle.
You don't want people to think of Drake when they say, oh, dancehall Drake, right? No, you want them to think of our artists, Alkaline, Popcorn.
Yeah, man.
How you doing now?
Yeah, man. So,
now not Tory Lanez.
What dancehall?
No, not Tory Lanez.
Oh, not Tory Lanez.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
All right. So another generation gap issue that we see in the culture right now. Go through it for you.
Now, remember there was a point where certain artists, people were saying that there's a new queen, new king of dancehall, and if it was a little confliction, we know the king of dancehall to be Beenie Man. We know the queen of dancehall.
That's our era.
Right. We know the queen of dancehall to be Lady Saw. But right now you have the younger generation who have a new king. Them have a new queen. I mean, I wouldn't want to say the new king to them. It would be Vibes Cartel. Cause remember, I said the man dropped the new last album, King of Dancehall.
King of the Dancehall.
And then the new queen is said to be Spice. So there was a whole confliction between Beenie Man saying that he knows the queen to be Lady Saw and such, and then fans chimed in, and it got a little nasty on social media. So, but that just shows that the generational gap is apparent.
And I always say that the king or the queen of the dancehall is all about the generation that you came up in.
Perspective.
If, like, for example, my king of the dancehall is Beenie Man because I came up in the 90s. When Vibes Cartel bus in the early 2000s, me a big man already.
And before you, your parents probably would say Yellow Man are the king of the dancehall.
The only reason why I know Yellow Man music is because I am a reggae dancehall enthusiast.
Right.
And I go on YouTube and I go research my music because I need to know what comes before me. But in general, people from my generation who came up in the 90s, in early 2000s or whatever, what do they know about Yellow Man? They know nothing about Yellow Man. They're going to talk about Beenie Man. They're going to talk about Vibes Cartel. So your king and queen of the dancehall is all about your generation.
True. And speaking about Beenie Man, I mean, there was the recent feud with Beenie Man and Popcorn just last week where Beenie Man was caught on a video recording saying something disrespectful and kind of mentioned Popcorn name in that recording. I think it was something to do with Trees Tina Sardine and
on social media.
Yeah, and then we done did talk about that in our episode 1. You guys could go back and check out that one.
Episode 1, social media hate, but it's like
it's same thing. It's
recurring.
Constant. We're always gonna bring that up.
It's coming back around because what we're seeing on social media right now is that there's no respect by from the new generation.
And that was something I read this in an article saying that there was one thing, the difference between generation gaps of then and now. Then the generation gap was apparent, of course. Only thing was that the younger generation looked up to the older generation as superiors. They had a lot of respect for the older generation in the generation gap.
Talk.
Now, the article said that now in this time, the elders respect the younger generation for their technological advances, but the new generation, the new younger generation, don't respect the elders and see them as superiors. That's what is happening in dancehall. You can see that And I don't want to attribute it to anyone specifically, but I can. There was a point where Cartel,
Yeah.
where he was pretty much under the wing of Bounty Killer.
Yeah, man.
And that fell apart. And we remember how Cartel style up Bounty. Style him up.
Yeah, man.
The man pon the gas on the board, tongue, bag of things. And
Yeah, man.
but that just, I feel like the new generation watch that and learn from it and say, yo, boom, yeah, well, we don't have to show the elders respect. And I feel like, you know, that's something that's lacking in our current dancehall music and was causing a lot of disrespect. To go back to the Beanie Man and Popcorn situation,
Rift.
I want to say Popcorn did amplify some kind of level of respect after he did see the video with Beanie Man saying, you know, go suck ya, he never said it back to Beanie Man. He said, look, I respect you as an artist, so I'm not going to tell you back, go suck your But he did.
Style him though.
But him style him.
He started by saying, yo, I respect you because you're a legend.
Right.
But at the end of that couple sentences,
style him same way.
Him style him same way.
Well, the one thing we made I forgive credit for, the man that tell him go suck him mama. You know what I mean?
Go suck him mother.
Yeah. So that
In a nice way.
yeah, you know what I mean? So only thing, the fans displayed some disrespectful
Yeah, man.
commentary. So we wanted to talk a little bit on that.
Yo.
And yeah.
That's the thing that we want to make clear. Let's talk about life in general. Like me personally, I respect the people who came before me because they have wisdom. You know what I say? They have more experience than me. So it makes sense. It makes sense to respect the people who came before you. But what I'm seeing right now in dancehall, especially with a newer generation, they don't really have much respect, or they're not exhibiting much respect for the predecessors.
Well, that's just a reflection in what's going on in life right now, right? Society right now. Right. You know, you have the younger generation who don't respect the elders because they feel like they know more. They have this thing called a smartphone and a computer, and they feel like they could Google every answer in the book. And whatever you have to say to them, whatever advice you have to give to them, they feel like they know more than you. Right. You know? So the younger generation is not looking to the elders for advice and for leadership. They feel like they're, and I think, yeah, I mean, and I guess it's the Zuckerberg effect, the Facebook effect. Right. You know, they feel like, you know, one of the youngest billionaires is Mark Zuckerberg for Facebook. You know, he pretty much, you know, is a big thing in the world, and he's a young guy. So they feel like, you know, because they're young, they feel like they know a lot. They don't have to listen to us who's giving them information because they can make the way for themselves.
Absolutely.
One way I say that to amplify this attitude of bridging the gap.
Yeah, man. How can we bridge the gap?
I think one way is showing respect to the ones that came before you. Showing respect to the elders.
Pay homage.
Right. And one person that I see who does this.
New generation artists?
New generation.
Yeah.
It's Chronix.
Big time.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Bless up.
How's
Chronix bridging the gap between the older folks and the new generation? How's he doing it?
One thing I want to say that he did from the jump was the fact that he paid homage to Bob Marley in everything that he did and does. He pays homage to Bob Marley, and that's showing respect to your elders that made it before you. Also, I mean, you watch plenty of interviews with Chronix. All he talks about is how much he loves dancehall music. You know, he shows love and respect to something, and he's doing reggae and also doing dancehall, but he shows love to the whole genre and spectrum of things. Also, when he even asks him about the difference between dancehall and reggae, he tries to paint it as one. He says, no, dancehall is reggae. Reggae is dancehall. It's one music. We're all one people. That's something that I must commend Chronix for doing, and I say that's why he's doing a great job as bridging the gap. Also, what else you see that he does?
Yeah, man. Next thing that Chronix is doing, big up Chronix right now. Next thing that I see Chronix is doing to bridge the gap between the older folks and his peers. Cause Chronix is a young youth. He come across like he's an older guy, but he's Chronix is Chronix even 25 it?
Think the man young.
Maybe 25 the oldest.
Yeah, definitely.
Chronix is even infusing dancehall moves in his performances. You don't really see reggae artists, reggae roots rock artists fusing dancehall in their performances. You see Chronix and his drummer.
The dancer from Ding Dong.
Roots percussionist.
Yeah,
Big up Roots percussionist.
Also, they have a video with him dancing with the Ding Dong, the one will come up with the fling shoulder.
Yeah, man, but may I say, it's Chronix bandmate.
Oh, okay. True.
His name is Roots Percussionist. He's on my Instagram.
Okay.
Real youth. I'm always do the fling and thing.
Right.
You know what I say?
Right.
So when Chronix goes overseas, he tours the world, and he's performing for all those, multicultural people or whatever.
Right.
And
Just incorporating
he's fusing dancehall. Because remember, many of those people don't really subscribe to dancehall.
Right.
And he's fusing dancehall into his set.
Right.
That's bridging the gap.
Definitely. And it's also opening the minds of the fans to say, oh, all right, so dancehall is not so bad. If you could bring that kind of dancing and positivity to it, then, it opens their mind. Also, another thing that artists could do to bridge the gap is old artists and producers must be open-minded and understand that times change. You know what I mean? They need to be open-minded and understand, sorry, there's a new generation of artists. Let's give them the respect, as younger youths. I actually was having a conversation with Sakima Mullins.
Man, big up Sakima.
Yeah, man. And he was saying to me, as one thing that he realized about the culture is that a lot of the elders don't give the children time. They don't give them the respect that they deserve. They just are. Matter of fact, I'll give you an example. We were shooting a music video at the #1 boxing arena in Kingston, and a kid came in to just to pretty much play around or whatever he came to do. But he saw that we were shooting a music video. The kid was like excited to see this. It's an opportunity for him to see something different. He's seen a video man videoing, see an artist performing, see a #1 boxer there, also a part of the video. And the owner or the help keeper of the establishment run the youth like, yo, come out of the spot. What y'all do ya? And Sakima Mullins had to jump in like, nah, man, the kid is okay. He's not doing anything wrong. He just, give him an opportunity. He's just trying to see what's going on. You never know, he might be a next music director. But you running him, not, giving him some respect is hurting his opportunity. So as producers who from the old generation, we have to give the new generation an opportunity, a chance, and respect.
Yeah, man. So another way to bridge the gap is to be open-minded. You got to be open-minded. The older generation artists, you got to be open-minded that, things and times change. And the new generation artists, fans, you must humble yourself. You must humble yourself and listen those who came before you. Because you don't know where you're coming from. You don't know where you're going if you don't know where you're coming from. You see what I say? You must humble yourself. And what I'm seeing from a lot of these newer kids, I'm not saying everybody, they're not humbling themselves.
True.
And the fans and the social media, Beenie Man time is up.
Right.
Don't get me started with the whole Beenie Man thing. I put up something on my Instagram.
Man put in work.
Beenie Man put in work. Beenie Man put in work and made this culture, put this culture in households. Put the genre in households, so generations and generations can speak about it.
So what we're trying to say, artists and producers need to do your research on who came before you. Even the great Vibes Cartel, who's great at that.
I'm glad you bring up Vibes Cartel because
his music is influenced by the 80s music. And
I'm gonna let you get into that. I'm glad you bring up Vibes Cartel because the new generation of dancehall fans, they say Vibes Cartel is their king. But I need you guys to understand something about Vibes Cartel. And that's what, for real, get into it.
So, one thing about Vibes Cartel, he does his research. He's a man who he researches music from the 80s, the 90s, and he remixes it, he refixes it. And sometimes you might not even know that he bringing an old style or an old concept from the 80s. But you have to understand as fans, as artists, as producers, that what was done before us was great work that you can always use and learn from. One song particularly, Ben's Panani. You think Vibes Cartel just make up that? That was way before Vibes Cartel.
How that Grandsman?
Grandsman. You know, and that's just one song. It's
Cartel in the 80s.
It's so much.
Cartel in the 90s. You know what I say?
Yeah, so that's one thing that we need to do. Do our research, give credit where it's due, pay homage to the elders. Bridging the gaps just equals longevity, you know? You can see it with Vibes Cartel, you can see it with Beenie Man, you can see it with Born to Kill It. That's what they did.
Every artist who bridge the gap, they have some kind of longevity. You know, longevity is the key. As an artist, your goal is to be relevant forever. You know?
Those are the artists that actually do their homework.
Right.
And they intend to be around for a long time. So they're not in it just to have one or two hot, singles out. They actually enjoy their work and they see themselves transcending the culture and adding to it.
Yeah, man.
One thing when we realize with the new generation, they just want to bust overnight. They just want one hit single,
instant gratification.
2 million views on YouTube.
Boom, they make a one hit. They want to make a one hit song. They're gonna be rich. They're not even trying to research, but that's not how it works.
Build that catalog. Work on your catalog.
You make a one song. That one song now. That's only one song. You need a catalog.
Work on that legacy.
Career. Yeah, the legacy like Bob Marley did.
Yeah, man. So let's just sum up some key points for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's sum up some key points about what we spoke about today. Right?
So, things and times change, and that's just a constant, of life. But we have to accept it and just be open-minded and accept differences. And I mean, as older fans or younger fans, you don't have to. I mean, yes, you don't have to love the current stuff, but you have to be open-minded to accept it, that it is what it is. You know what I mean? Your taste in music now may not be the same as it was back then.
15, 20 years ago.
But you have to just understand, say, remember I said mentor, turning a ska turning a rocksteady turning a reggae, reggae turning a dancehall. It's all one music. We're all part of the same people. We just come up with a different unique sound. I have to respect each other for that. We're all paving our own way.
Yeah, man.
Way up.
And as for the newer generation artists, I said it earlier. You must humble yourself. If you're an artist, you're a fan, it's imperative that you humble yourself and respect those who come before you. Not because you're not familiar with the artist and you're not familiar with the song. That doesn't mean that and the artist is no longer hot or they don't have any songs on radio right now or in the club. That doesn't mean that artist didn't put in the footwork.
Right.
10, 15, 20 years before you.
It
happened, but guess what? It happened, but you weren't born yet. Or you didn't know yourself yet. You were still wet in the bed. Respect those respect those who come before you.
Get them
and that's
respect.
Facts, and that's facts of life.
Say, if they didn't put in the footwork, you wouldn't be hearing the artist that you're in love with.
No,
now.
The music would have dead out.
Would have dead and gone, and you'd have to listen to hip hop or some next nonsense. Remember, say even hip hop was birthed from dancehall, reggae. So you probably wouldn't even have heard hip hop. If I lie.
Yeah, man.
So
man.
You have to just give respect and have patience.
Yeah, and the older generation artists, the yesteryear artists, you must understand that change is inevitable, right? And the only thing in life that's constant, or rather the only constant in life is change. Things we live in it's a dynamic world. We're always having change.
Right.
Change is inevitable. All right, so let's just wrap it up for real.
Yeah, man. Well, it was a great episode 4. We have great episodes to come. Also, look out, May 26th. We're gonna have our launch party. Big, huge launch party. We have a lot of media personnel coming through. We have live music. live band, my actual live band, The Realist, myself performing. We have Critical, we have Melly Mel's, we have a new artist that I'm going to be introducing to you guys, Fireworks. We're going to have question and answer. We're going to have giveaways. It's going to be awesome.
Contests, party.
Oh, man.
In Brooklyn, New York.
And you get an opportunity to not just, hear our voices, to meet us in person.
To meet us.
Get to hear our vision and
see what we're about.
Interact, mingle.
Yeah, man. So that's the Reggae Talk.
Yeah.
Reggae Talk podcast official launch.
May 26th.
May 26, 2018 in Brooklyn, New York.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and social media platforms. You can follow me for real at AKA for real. That's AKA FAREAL.
Yeah, man. You can follow me at Reggae Music Forever, just like how you spell it. You can follow the podcast page at Reggae Talk. Check us out on YouTube, Reggae Talk. Check us out on iTunes, Podcast Republic. Follow me on SoundCloud at Reggae Music Forever. Yeah, man. Dancehall Dave. Oh, yeah. Big up Infrarebel.
Infrarebel
in the building.
Yes.
Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So respect.
Thanks for inviting me, guys. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. Give thanks.
Man, still have the sexy voice. Go on.
Yeah, man. And also, big up Dancehall Dave. Executive producer. All right? So with that being said, people, remember, I want to leave you with a few closing words. Build each other up and don't tear each other down in the name of reggae and dancehall culture. One love, one culture.